You've been called too much, too intense, too deep for a simple conversation, but nobody ever stopped to ask, what if that isn't a flaw? What if that's the sign of a mind operating on a different level than everyone around it? Stay till the end. Because habit 10 is the one almost nobody talks about, and it's the one quietly ruining the most brilliant women you know. Let me tell you about Meher. She sits alone at lunch. Not because she's lonely, because shallow conversation exhausts her faster than actual work does. She replays a conversation from 3 days ago, wondering if she said too much or not enough. Her mind runs 50 tabs at once, ideas, questions, worries she can't switch off. People call her overthinker, dramatic, too sensitive. But psychologists have been studying women like her for years, and what they found flips the whole narrative. The women who seem the most unusual are often the most intellectually and emotionally advanced people in the room. Here's the first sign. She talks to herself, debates herself, argues both sides of a decision out loud before she commits to it. That's not a mind unraveling. That's a mind organizing itself. Self-talk activates the brain's problem-solving centers, turning chaos into clarity. She doesn't wait for someone else to think with her because her inner world is already loud enough on its own. Second sign, she overanalyzes everything. A text left on read, a change in tone, a pause that lasted 1 second too long. To everyone else, exhausting. To her, instinct. Her brain isn't creating problems, it's preventing them. This comes from heightened pattern recognition, the same trait behind people who seem to just know things before anyone says them out loud. Pause here for a second. Has anyone ever told you that you're reading too much into something, when deep down you already knew you were right? That's not anxiety. That's awareness that never learned how to relax. Third sign, she'd rather be alone than surrounded by people who drain her. Not because she hates people, because her energy is the one thing she refuses to waste. Small talk feels like static. Depth feels like oxygen. So she chooses solitude, not from sadness, but from self-respect. And underneath that solitude, there's usually a set of quieter, faster habits running in the background. She talks herself through boredom before it turns into restlessness. Repetitive environments feel like slow suffocation to her, so her mind manufactures its own stimulation. And at night, when everyone else shuts down, hers keeps replaying the day, processing what it never got to finish. These aren't separate quirks. They're the same restless engine, just showing up in different rooms of her life. Now here's where it gets personal. Fourth sign. She questions everything, even the things she's supposed to accept without question. Traditions, opinions, rules nobody explains, just enforces. This isn't rebellion, this is critical thinking refusing to switch off. Psychologists call it cognitive flexibility, the ability to sit in uncertainty instead of grabbing the nearest easy answer just to feel settled. Fifth sign, she feels everything intensely but shows almost none of it. She smiles through a meeting while quietly processing something that would break most people. Calm on the outside, 1,000 miles an hour underneath. That's not coldness. That's control she built the hard way, after learning that not every emotion deserves an audience. Sixth sign, and this one is going to sting a little. She doubts herself constantly, despite being clearly, obviously capable. Because the smarter she gets, the more clearly she sees her own gaps. The more she learns, the more she realizes how much she still doesn't know. Psychologists call this the impostor phenomenon, and it shows up disproportionately in highly intelligent women, not because they lack ability, because their internal bar keeps moving higher than anyone could reasonably clear. If you've ever felt like a fraud standing next to your own achievements, that was never weakness. That was the tax awareness charges you. Take a breath. Let that one land. Seventh sign. She's fiercely independent, sometimes to a fault. She'll struggle in silence before she asks for help, because her own mind has rarely let her down before. But here's the twist nobody warns her about. The same strength that makes her self-sufficient is the exact thing that makes her quietly, invisibly lonely. The people who look like they need the least support are often the ones who need it the most and never say so. And that leads to the last sign, the one that explains all the others. She hides, not her flaws, her intelligence. She simplifies her thoughts around people who can't keep up, downplays her opinions in rooms where she's clearly right, softens herself again and again, not from low confidence, but because she learned somewhere along the way that being fully herself makes other people uncomfortable. And that's the quiet tragedy sitting underneath everything you just heard. The exact traits that make her exceptional are the traits she's spent years learning to hide. So ask yourself something. How many times have you made yourself smaller just so someone else could feel bigger? If any of this felt uncomfortably familiar, you're not broken. You were never too much. You are simply built on a different frequency than the room you're standing in. Your depth is not a flaw to fix. Your intensity is not a curse to apologize for. Your mind was never something that needed permission to exist exactly as it is. So the next time someone calls you strange, overthinking, too sensitive, too intense, understand what they're actually saying. They're not describing something wrong with you. They're describing a mind working exactly the way it was built to, and the world just hasn't caught up yet.